thank you to Chef for their generous donation as a YouTube member.
Artemy's efforts to remain quiet proved more difficult than expected. There was a deafening, awkward silence in the viewing booth as the three of them impatiently waited for the opening ceremony to start while ignoring the uncomfortable Agatha in the corner.
Wow, I read that way too fast.
The public safety enchanter clearly did not want to talk to them again for the time being. Things were made worse when a festival speaker announced that the opening ceremony would be further delayed. Apparently, the prince had taken one look at the massive crowd he would be speaking to and had a nervous breakdown. And thus, they were forced to wait quietly for the longest minutes of their lives. Thankfully, or perhaps unfortunately, their silence was broken by a familiar face poking his head into the booth.
I knew it would be him! I don't remember the voice I gave him, though. Well, time for a new one.
Ah, free seats. Move aside and make room. You should be honored to share space with a member of nobility.
The moment Calder and Cole caught sight of each other, the two instantly scrunched up their faces as though they had caught a whiff of foul odor. It's like looking in a mirror, you fucking assholes.
The bone breaker boy. Of course, my accursed luck would strand me in a booth with the likes of you.
What's the matter, pretty boy? Shouldn't you be in the viewing tower with the rest of the fancy nobles? Cole sneered. Oh wait, not important enough to join the club, eh? Calder spluttered furiously before clumsily composing himself.
I shan't even grace you with an answer. You are far too beneath us to even comprehend the complexities of noble society.
Sid and Artemy exchanged alarmed looks.
Hey, let's stay civil now. I concur. Let us take this chance to start off on better footing. Who is your new friend, Cole?
Yeah, friend. The older hyena brushed his hair out of his eyes in a dramatic and unintentionally comedic fashion.
You commoners should really educate yourselves on the noble families that preside over your puny lives. I am Calder O'Shaughnessy, sole heir to House O'Shaughnessy and arcanist extraordinaire. You may refer to me as Sir O'Shaughnessy or Milord, either will do.
Artemy's ear twitched at the mention of House O'Shaughnessy. She glanced at her two companions with a furrowed brow.
Is this an opportunity to get chummy with the nobles like you advised? Our ultimate goal for today is to establish noble allies after all? I don't know, man. This guy is a lot.
Cole shrugged.
I don't think this guy is our cloaked mage, but he might know some useful people. It's worth a shot. I'll be pretty useless here since I fully pissed him off earlier today. Ah, business as usual for you then?
Artemy grinned teasingly. Cole shot her a bemused scowl. Behind them, Calder cleared his throat loudly.
It is very rude to whisper amongst yourselves in the presence of others. Have your families failed to teach you the simplest of manners?
Cole glared irritably. Ah, how rude of me. Let me introduce you to my good friend Sid. And this little unimportant fellow over here is Artemy Joanna Gautier from the church. Calder's jaw dropped and his eyes widening to the size of dinner plates.
Artemy Gautier, the creator's chosen, the daughter of the great bishop of the church.
Artemy bowed her head shyly.
Indeed, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Sir O'Shaughnessy.
Sid made a face and mumbled bitterly.
And I'm Sid Shrikewood, unemployed, son of the innkeeper at the Sparrow's Roost Tavern.
You say that sarcastically, but I'd hang out with you and your mom over this asshole bishop any day. Sid was taken aback and gave his boss a grateful smile.
You don't have to always baby me like this.
Nope, but I'm kind of trying this new thing where I pretend to be a decent person. Also, your mom guilt-tripped me into looking after you, so I'll do it. Soul grimaced.
If my mom was here, she'd be kicking this guy into the dirt at this point.
Mrs. Shrikewood is a very wise woman. I'm honestly kind of considering it right now. Behind them, Calder's attitude did a complete 180 as he eagerly shook Artemy's hand. Oh, you fucking ass kisser. Hey, hey, you got a little shit on your nose, you whatever.
It is an honor to finally meet you, dear chosen. Though I must say, it was a surprise to find you amongst such questionable company.
Artemy wore a strained and reluctantly polite smile.
Cole and Sir Sid are my dearest companions. There is no one else I would rather have by my side.
Then you are truly as inexperienced as they say. Allow me to introduce you to some more noteworthy and reliable individuals. Myself, for instance. You fucker, you. Shut the fuck up! A studied and powerful wizard from the renowned O'Shaughnessy family would surely make a valuable ally.
Not even a minute had passed, yet Artemy's smile was already strained like an overworked waiter struggling to remain cheerful for customers. That sounds like a personal account. She leaned back from Calder's advances, clearly uncomfortable.
Ah, yes. Well, I'll be sure to keep you in mind should I find need of you, my lord.
Excellent, excellent! It seems my luck has finally turned. When Grandfather hears that I have become acquainted with the creators chosen, he will certainly be most pleased.
A sharp voice suddenly cut through the small space of their viewing booth. Ah, finally!
Ah, Calder O'Shaughnessy. You are the heir of your little house. My, Gaius has become desperate.
Calder whirled around, just now noticing Agatha's presence.
Agatha Stoker, former researcher for the royal family. Your reputation precedes you.
Agatha's gaze was sharp, with a strange mixture of contempt and pity.
As does yours. Or more precisely, your family's reputation. You be careful now, young man. I hear that being the heir to House O'Shaughnessy has a terribly high mortality rate.
Calder stiffened and glared at the woman coldly.
Whatever rumors you may have heard about my family are all unfounded lies. I pray you take your accusations somewhere else.
Or elsewhere, as it actually says, but I fucked it up.
Ha! I accuse nothing. Just musing over the fact that Gaius O'Shaughnessy has sent his only underachieving grandson to a jousting tournament and butter up the creators chosen. The man has gotten creative in his search for ways to patch up his family's honor.
Calder crossed his arms defensively.
I am here to uphold my family's reputation because it is my duty as its heir. There was no persuasion needed on Grandfather's part. What a responsible young man. Which part of your family reputation do you intend to uphold? It would be a shame if Gaius O'Shaughnessy finally runs out of family members to torment.
Calder's expression closed up with cold indignation.
I think this conversation is over.
Jesus Christ.
They were interrupted by a chorus of trumpets from the viewing towers. The grand fanfare of instruments was punctuated by a wave of applause as an announcer stepped forward on the stage. He spoke into a small arcane crystal charged with an amplify spell, his voice reverberating, clearing across the entire area.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to Axia's annual Firefly Festival.
Artemy craned her head to see into the small viewing tower. She noticed an uncharacteristically young woman sitting amongst the other nobility. The woman was hardly older than Artemy herself. For a moment, the two of them locked eyes. Cold intrigue flashed across the woman's face as she stared down at Artemy from the tower. Their attention was turned back towards the stage as the announcer continued speaking.
This year, the city would like to give special thanks to House Osmia for their generous contributions and organization efforts for the Firefly Festival. The passing of our late king and queen had left the city in a somber disarray. There would be no festival had the Honorable Lady Osmia not stepped in.
Hollering applause rang through the crowd. Oh my! Oh my! Look at you! Oh my! Oh my! Oh my! The noblewoman stood up and gave the audience a polite curtsy before quickly returning to her seat. Ooh,
piercing green eyes.
Artemy noticed that many of the nobility around the woman scoffed and one-eyed her with disdain. Oof. The woman paid them no mind and merely nodded at the crowd with her head held high.
And next, our very own Prince Cassius would like to have a few words with you.
Would I like to have a few words with you, you fucks? A round of more subdued applause echoed through the arena. Many people perked up with interest at the first public appearance of this prince. From the back of the viewing tower, a short, lanky young man stumbled forward and was clearly on the verge of hyperventilating. The young man shakingly took to the stage with a nervous shudder. He glanced down at a handful of poorly concealed note cards before addressing the crowd. Oh, look at him! Oh, Cassius. Oh, the second frail Cassius prince. Oh, my God. He's pretty. He is very pretty.
Hello, everyone. Welcome all to the Firefly Festival. May our hearts stand strong in these trying times. While the passing of my dear mother and father has surely been a blow to the city, we shall rise above and prosper as they would have wished for us to.
Oh, God. Prince Cassius suddenly fumbled, his note cards tumbling out of his reach and into the grassy field below. Oh, you poor little being, you. I still think you the sorcerer. The peacock stood frozen, staring out of the sea of faces watching him expectantly. Even from the distance, Artemy could see the prince's breathing rapidly increase to a panic pace. Did you know how many sorcerers that could just levitate that shit back to him? Like, seriously. Oh, in an instant, Prince Cassius let out a horrified squawk and bolted from the stage in complete fright. Oh, an awkward silence hung in the air as the crowd gaped at this craven display. Well then, this kingdom's future looks bright.
Cole, be nice! His Highness was clearly scared senseless. We must be patient with this poor man until he adapts to his role.
Oh, of course she does. Of course she does. Lady Osmia suddenly stepped to the stage and cleared her throat. Her every movement felt fluid and with practiced grace. The noblewoman's quiet gaze drew the attention of her onlookers effortlessly.
Greetings.
I am what the hell? Maeve. I'm just going with Maeve.
Maeve Osmia.
In stark contrast to the prince's stammering, Maeve's voice flowed like smooth silk.
As organizer of this year's Firefly Festival, I would like to thank the city and its people for this day of celebration. The first day of the festival is meant to celebrate the present moment. May the fire of competition fuel your spirits during the jousting and brawling tournaments. The victor of the brawl will be awarded a generous prize in gold, while the victor of the joust will receive an honorable boon from House Osmia. As its heir, I will do my utmost to fulfill the victor's request.
Lady Osmia nodded quietly, her gaze shifting to the nobles behind her.
Lastly, I would like to thank my fellow nobles in welcoming House Osmia amongst your rank.
There was a wave of snickers and upturned noses at her comment. Maeve continued as though she hadn't heard.
House Osmia is still in its infancy and greatly appreciates your kindness. The nobility of Axia has shown us the utmost gracious hospitality.
She paused. Her voice grew low.
I hope to one day return the favor.
Oof! Ooh! Ooh! She's gonna whoop some ass! As the speech ended, a polite round of applause swept through the crowds. All the members of nobility fell into uncomfortable silence as Maeve Osmia quietly returned to her seat. Ooh. She's gonna destroy some motherfuckers, I just know it! As the festival organizers scrambled to prepare for the jousting tournament, Artemy stared up at the tower with fascination.
Who exactly is this Lady Osmia? I had studied the many houses and lineages of the nobility during my training,
But I've never heard of this House Osmia until recently. Calder cleared his throat loudly with a self-important grin.
I believe I can enlighten you on the topic. House Osmia is a relatively new addition to the nobility, hailing from the uncivilized exterior farmlands outside the city walls. They specialize in druid craft and have grown rapidly since the disastrous locust famine many years ago.
Calder sighed and shook his head with a hint of disgust.
Druidcraft is such a barbaric class of magic compared to Axia's trademark wizardry, but I suppose it does have its uses. Thanks to their techniques, the city was able to recover quickly from the famine. Osmia's farms now produce 70% of Axia's food and crops.
Yeah, that's not a fucking that's not a blueprint for fucking disaster.
Even the most prestigious of nobles would be hard-pressed to be on their good graces. I believe House Osmia decided to sponsor the Firefly Festival this year as a show of strength to all the other noble houses.
Artemis stared up at Maeve's distant and serious face with wonder.
She is the heir and leader to this growing house? Incredible. She is hardly older than I am.
Calder scoffed.
That is hardly a praiseworthy feat. I too am the heir of my house, and we are but a few years apart. And you can hardly call House Osmia a true house when she is the only member of it.
Wait a minute, so she single-handedly owns 70% of all the farmlands? One person? Dude, that's a guarantee that you're gonna get fucked. There's gonna be some sort of power play. There's gonna be a fight for the fucking, the farmlands. Whoever controls the food controls the kingdom. This prince is fucked. Dude, if fucking Maeve Osmia isn't the fucking sorcerer, or maybe they're working together, I don't know, but this fucking Osmia is clearly in line to take over if there's a power struggle over the prince. Like, seriously. All they have to do is be like, oh, 70% of you don't want to eat? Okay, keep fighting me. You're fucked, dude, you're fucked. That's why you don't have monopolies. That's one of the many reasons you don't have monopolies.
I hear everyone else in her lineage had perished in the locust famine.
Calder sighed and shook his head.
Alas, as diminished as this young house is, they still hold a great amount of power. Grandfather had ordered me to consort with them and bring myself under their good graces.
Artemis' brow furrowed as she tried her best to hide her growing dislike of this man.
And how will you set about doing that?
By winning the jousting tournament, of course. Osmia would be obligated to bestow a boon upon the victor. I will simply ask Lady Osmia for her hand in marriage.
Okay, this is a fucking nightmare. Artemis spluttered, utterly flabbergasted.
What? Surely she would not be forced to accept such a request? Well, probably not. But she will be obligated to spend time with me as her suitor above all other men clamoring for her attention. This would give me ample time to charm her into a partnership with House O'Shaughnessy.
Artemis glared at Calder with a hard look. House O'Shaughnessy must be quite desperate for influence if they are resorting to such underhanded courtship tactics. And with a druid family they look down upon, no less.
Calder spluttered furiously, clearly not expecting such a retort.
The House O'Shaughnessy is basking in wealth and power these days, I assure you. We're simply networking in search of better allies and companions. Surely you understand.
I do not. Companions and allies should be earned through honesty and mutual trust, not through such unchivalrous schemes.
Calder crossed his arms defensively as he glanced over at Cole and Sid.
Oh, and what methods did you use to find these layabouts? Did you pick them up on the side of the street or something?
Oh boy, here they come. Actually, we got thrown in jail together.
And then we gambled in an illegal fighting ring together. And then we tore down in the illegal fighting ring together.
Okay, no, that part's on you. Nobody else here could smite a building into rubble.
What? The courageous chosen can't be seen with people like you.
Artemis glared at the older hyena coldly.
I would take them over your dishonorable ilk any day.
Something in Calder snapped at her words. He whipped his head toward Agatha desperately.
You, enchanter! Surely you can see the ridiculousness of the situation.
Oh, God. Oh, popping up out of the fucking ceiling to say some shit.
What? I'm just eating breadsticks in the corner, man. Don't drag me into this.
And there she goes. Fucking. Calder tugged at his hair in frustration. He turned his back towards Artemis furiously.
I can take your rejection, but the fact that you would place these low-born scum over the likes of me is an insult I cannot stand for. A filthy mage who denies his own gifts, and an utterly ordinary peasant void of talent or status? Don't make me laugh.
Artemis gritted her teeth. Her hand twitched towards her sword.
I will thank you to not speak of my companions in such a way. I speak the truth. You are out of your mind if you think either of them are more worthy than I.
Calder's frenzied gaze landed on Sid, who nervously took a step back.
You are clearly the weak link of this group. What makes you think you have anything of worth to provide?
Wow. Kill him. Kill him. Sid flinched.
I don't...
Oh, what the fuck? Nobleman's eyes suddenly flashed to the deep shade of arcane blue. Sid's chest squirmed uncomfortably as he felt the glowing gaze pierce through him like knives.
What do you think you're doing?
Behind them, Cole instantly recognized the spell and bolted in front of Sid, but it was too late. The Detect Thoughts spell washed over Sid like an ice-cold wave.
Let me see.
Calder let out a cruel, triumphant laugh.
He's illiterate? And an utter mess of a man as well. Oh, my dear chosen, where did you find this one?
Sid felt his blood run cold. Calder's grin grew as he continued sifting through the Badger's mind.
Unemployed, fired from at least a dozen jobs, spends all his time daydreaming about becoming a hero he knows he's incapable of becoming, while his parents toil at a thankless job. Oh, and he's adopted too! This just keeps getting better!
Sid growled and took a menacing step forward. Calder didn't even flinch.
Shut your goddamn mouth! Oh, hush! You're too delicate to do anything to me! I can read your entire mind, and you agree with me.
Calder cackled with delight.
You have no idea why these two even keep you around. You've got nothing to contribute and are a waste of their precious time. Oh, sweet Cole, so patient and supportive of you, taking you under his wing and teaching you how to read. Something you should have learned ages ago if you were a functioning person.
Panic shot through Sid's chest. He whipped around to see Cole staring at him, wide-eyed.
And dear Artemis, what a perfect warrior, kind and humble and brimming with power, a true personification of the hero you've dreamed of becoming. But you are just an ant standing beneath her.
Oh, here we go. Dispel magic.
You could have done that the whole fucking time, and you waited until that?
Artemis lunged forward, fist still flashing with sparks of lightning. She roughly grabbed Calder by the collar and slammed him into the wall of the booth. The wood buckled under the force of her blow, and she growled with uncontrolled rage.
You go too far, you despicable!
Despite being lifted off his feet, Calder managed a goading grin.
Oh, but don't you see? He hates you. Your beloved companion utterly despises you. Every time he sees you, his blood boils over with envy. He can't even stand to be in your presence anymore. This is the companion who you so gladly treasure.
Artemis faltered. She looked towards Sid, shocked and wounded. But the moment they locked eyes, she saw the Badger's utterly broken expression. She inhaled sharply and turned back towards Calder. Her fist plunged forward with a crack. A shower of splintered wood scattered across the viewing booth as Artemis sank a hole into the wall inches next to Calder's head. Artemis let out a deep breath.
You are an utterly vile man, Calder O'Shaughnessy. Give me one reason why I shouldn't beat you senseless.
Calder's brave face was shaken after nearly taking an armored fist to the skull, but he managed a confident sneer.
Oh, my dear chosen, have you forgotten where you are? What would the church do when people find out that the Creator's chosen is an untamed brute who terrorizes the weak? Oh, the shame you would bring upon your dear bishop of a mother.
Artemy froze and looked up. The entire arena was silent, all eyes trained on their little booth in the corner. Thousands of shocked spectators, from commoners to nobles, watched Artemy hastily retract her fist from the wooden wall of the booth like a child caught red-handed. She glared at Calder's smug face, voice dipping low.
So this was your ploy?
The noble shrugged with a smirk.
What can I say? I do not take insults well. Anyone who crosses House O'Shaughnessy will be sure to pay the consequences.
He laughed gleefully.
So what will you do, my dear chosen? Our audience is starting to whisper and wonder about what is happening down here. I suppose you can continue beating on me. That'll do your reputation wonders. And if you retreat without a word, House O'Shaughnessy can easily twist the inevitable rumors to our advantage.
He tapped his chin thoughtfully.
Though I suppose if you groveled at my feet and apologize, I would be open to sparing you the social scrutiny you will undoubtedly face.
Artemy growled, gritting her teeth in frustration. This scum of a man deserved no such apology. She had half the mind to beat him into the dirt for his slight against Sid. However, she cannot deny that Calder was ultimately right about her situation. She cannot make a move against it without soiling hers and the church's reputation. She was in hot water, and she was in hot water with Her Excellency to begin with. Her claim to the Creator's chosen title would be forfeit, and she would be likely to drag the Knight Commander down with her. What about Cole? Cole can fuck him up with actually gaining reputation. The logical course of action was to publicly apologize, but the sight of Calder's smug grin made her blood boil.
Oh, are you refusing to apologize? I suppose I should start crying out for help. The Creator's chosen clearly has malevolent intentions towards me, a helpless citizen. Fine. I apologize.
Ooh! Sharp snap of fingers suddenly interrupted their exchange. Cole's voice reverberated through the entire stadium, its voice amplified through prestidigitation. Calder O'Shaughnessy! You have insulted the honor of both my underlings and committed a dire breach of privacy through a detect thought spell. As leader of this adventuring party, I cannot allow this insult to stand. I, Colony Bonebreaker, hereby challenge you to a public duel! Ooh! Curious and excited murmurs instantly swept through the arena, and as onlookers watched their little group eagerly, Calder whipped around and stared at Cole in shock. Cole gave him an unimpressed look. With a loot. What? You think Artemy's the only one with a reputation on the line? Your granddaddy won't be very happy to hear that you're involved in a public scandal and then lose to a commoner in a duel. What will people think of your precious O'Shaughnessy name then? You have some nerve. Took the words right out of my mouth, buddy. You violated my lackey's mind and then pinned my other lackey into social suicide. I ain't about to let that slide. Unlike you foppish nobles, we bonebreakers take care of our own. I will crush you! Calder faltered for a moment before sneering. Fine. I, Calder O'Shaughnessy, accept your challenge. You cannot hope to defeat me without using that magic you keep so poorly hidden. Say goodbye to your little secret. I, for one, will not be losing to a fraud. Cole's grip on his lute tightened. We'll see. The nobility and festival organizers peered down on the scene below with bewilderment. Apologies, gentlemen. We cannot allow a duel in the middle of the Firefly Festival arena. Maeve Osmia suddenly stood up and waved her hand.
And why not, pray tell? As I said earlier, the first day of the Firefly Festival is meant to celebrate the spirit of competition and rivalries with our fellow man. And what better rivalry than the heir of the noble House O'Shaughnessy and the son of Axia's greatest mercenary warrior? I motion that we allow this public duel to commence.
The festival announcer glanced nervously behind Maeve and the members of nobility standing behind her. After a beat, he turned back toward the crowd.
Very well! Ladies and gentlemen, as an appetizer to our main events, we will be hosting a public duel between Sirs Calder O'Shaughnessy and Galladay Bonebreaker. We invite the two of you to take your place at the center of the arena.
Oh man. Oh man. Calder eagerly strut towards the center of the stadium, already confident in his victory. Artemy and Sid exchanged anxious looks as Cole readied his loot. Cole, are you really intending to expose your magical abilities in this duel? Sir Merrill will surely hear about it.
Do you really think you can win?
Cole shrugged. Win or lose, everything works out for us in the end. The heat of the situation gets taken off of Artemy, and people won't be favorable towards Calder for his shitty stunt. More importantly, he turned towards Sid with concern. Are you doing okay, buddy?
Me? I'm fine. It's nothing.
Sorry I dragged us into another mess again. Despite his insistence, Sid's stiff shoulders and clenched jaw betrayed his broken state of mind. Cole placed a firm hand on his shoulder. You did nothing wrong. We're in this mess because Calder is an asshole. After the shitstorm is done, we'll go to Mrs. Shrikewood's for some tea and talk everything out. Sound good? Sid nodded quietly.
Yeah.
Cole pressed a firm hand to Sid's chest and leaned close.
Listen, man. At the end of the day, you're my friend. I don't keep you around because of some pity party or some sense of usefulness. I genuinely like hanging out with you, and I am genuinely better off for having known you. So keep your chin up, okay? Okay.
Cole gave him one last reassuring nod before making his way toward the field.